has been biting her nails for 22 years, since early childhood. Let's help her out and do dry manicure and stunning acrylic makeover.
This is going to be quite a challenge because we have a combination of different skin types. Mostly we have dry skin, many hangnails, and some existing cuts, while on some nails we have a spreading type of the cuticle, which is kind of oily. Most cuts supposedly appear due to improper removal of the hangnails, and most of them are located way above the cuticle, so hopefully they are not going to be on our way when we will be doing prep and manicures. I will be using a double-sided metallic pusher, which works so well when I'm doing Anna's nails, and first I simply going to push back the cuticles. At first you might think that she doesn't really have cuticles on some nails, but now it's obvious that it's not true, because when cuticle is spreading across the nail plate, it's clear. We cannot really see it, but once you start pushing it back, now it appears white. This is when I use this other side of the pusher, which is slightly sharper, and it is super convenient. This is very helpful when dealing with Bitten nails, because afterwards I'm going to use an electric nail file, and since her nails are rather thin, it will help me to understand where's the nail plate, where's the cuticle, so I will not file too much and of course not damage or overfile her nails. On some nails, pushing back the cuticles is quite a challenge, so we need to do it in a few takes. It's super important to try to keep it as a whole piece if it's not already split. Very common question in my comments regarding nail prep and using pusher: why I don't use the soak-off method to prep Anna's nails, because if I use soap and water, it's going to smooth the skin and the prep is going to be easier. I don't really have anything against this method, even though I don't use it a lot, and I think it works really well in some cases, but most times we have hangnails and we have cuts, and whenever you're using a soak-off method, you also use a cuticle remover, and most times they're whether alkaline or acid-based, and they are not recommended to use if the skin is irritated and damaged. And as you can see on this nail, the skin is definitely damaged already. That's why we're using waterless method, which is the combination of using pusher first, and then we're going to proceed with electric nail file. Another common question is about the time of the nail prep with the clients like this, and I want to be honest with you guys. Sometimes it takes up to 30 to 40 and sometimes even 50 minutes just the prep, and of course it's not like that with every client, but when we're dealing with short Bitten nails, there's a lot to work on, so it's totally fine if it's going to take longer. After pushing back the cuticles and cleaning some of these parts, we proceed to dry manicure. This is diamond flame-shaped bead with red abrasive mark. The speed is 14,000 rotations per minute. Now I'm able to reach the sidewalls, the furthest areas, and clean everything from the nail plate, as well as push back the cuticles even better. This amount of dry skin and cuticles is very common, especially with an ongoing nail biting habit, or even for someone who had this habit in the past, because this is how our bodies work. Whenever there is some kind of damage to the skin or the nail, the body produces more skin cells trying to protect the nail plate. That's why there is more dry skin, so we need to work a little more to clean it, to make sure that the nail plate will be completely dry and clean, so we can apply the product and not worry that it is going to lift. When doing dry manicure, it's important to not switch back and forth too much. So what I mean is I always work on the left side of the nail first, because I'm using the same speed and the same rotation, which is a forward mode, on all nails. And only when I'm done with this side, I'm going to switch to reverse mode and work on the opposite side in the exact same manner. By the way, if you would like to learn more about how to use electric nail file, how to understand which speed, rotation and drill bit, feel free to join my online class Electric Nail File 101, which is perfectly suitable for beginners. You are not going just to watch my videos like you do now, but but also you will get a step-by-step tutorials with instructions, and most importantly, you are going to practice and your work is going to be graded by a live teacher. Once you pass all the assignments, first we're going to practice on tips, on eggs, on yourself, on plastic hands, and only after that on real models. Once you pass all these assignments as well as the final assignment, you will be issued a certificate. If you would like to learn more and enroll, I will leave the link in the description box. After working on the opposite side of the nail, I push up the dry skin so it will be easier to trim it. I used the same speed, which is about 15,000 rotations per minute, and reverse mode. Do not forget to clean the dust so you will be able to see everything that is going on when you're working with a drill bit. Doing nail art and extensions is definitely fun, but there's something especially satisfying about this process, and I gotta be honest, I really enjoy doing nail prep, especially for this kind of nails. Now let's file the nails. Most of them are already short, so there's not much to do, and take off the surface shine. I'm using 180 grit file. You can also use the buffer, but make sure that it's at least 180 grit. I'm going to use manicure scissors to trim the dead skin on top as well as the hangnails. And since we already done all the prep, all these cuticles, they are pushed up, it's pretty easy to see where exactly this dead skin ends, and also I can clearly see all the hangnails. I almost stopped breathing when I was working on this nail because this guy is already damaged, and obviously I don't want to do any further damage, so I was being extra careful. Using manicure tools such as manicure scissors or nippers may work too, is the easiest way to trim the hangnails if we already have some cuts or damage to the skin. Now let's apply some dehydrator and primer, and this time I'm going to try a new acrylic line that my friend Yoshiko recently gave to me, and this acrylic line comes from Japan. The monomer smells just like regular monomer, standard acrylic odor as I like it, and I'm going to use a nude powder. Anna's favorite shape is square, so that's the one we're doing today, but obviously we're not going to any extreme length. We're making them short and practical. So I'm not going to use forms or tips, I'm just going to do so-called sculpting on air. To do that, I simply add the bead on the free edge first, and then I press and push it back towards the free edge. The goal is to use regular or closer to dry consistency. If you will use too much monomer and will have a wet consistency, then you're going to be in trouble because it won't be possible to keep the acrylic in the place where you want it to be. So make sure that once you take the bead, it's almost dry and it's not really flowing or flooding the skin. Every time I'm showing this method on the internet, there are always some concerns in the comments regarding the exposure to the skin. And the truth is, whenever you have short and beaten nails, yes, the product is going to touch the skin a little bit. That's why it's so important to control the consistency. In my opinion, it's not that much compared to, let's say, when you're doing a regular sculpting with acrylic. Sometimes we also accidentally touch a little bit of the sidewall with our brushes. So in my opinion, that's not more exposure than that, as long as you're making sure that you are not flooding the skin underneath the nail. However, I agree with all these concerns because acrylic, while it's not cured yet, is not supposed to touch our skin in any ways. So this method obviously is not going to work with anyone who's allergic to acrylic, but honestly, I would not recommend for anyone who's allergic to acrylic to use it anyways, regardless of which method you're using, whether it's acrylic or gel. But there are some people who are allergic to most products, and in this case, I would also not recommend trying this method. But we're working with Anna for quite a while now. She never showed any signs of allergic reactions to acrylic. That's why we know that it's safe. This is very common for some nail beds to be shorter than the others. Like the first nail I did was thumb, and it was much longer than the others, so it was quite easy to do the free edge with just one bead. But this nail is much shorter. That's why I will need a few beads to build the free edge, and I'm going to do it in several steps. But regardless, it's still important to try to keep this consistency that's not too wet, so I can control the product and make sure it's not going to flood the skin underneath. If it's going underneath the nail, which still may happen, you need to clean it right away using an orange wood stick or your glove, anything, because once it's too dry, it's going to be extremely hard to file it off. So it's better to clean it while the product is still not fully cured. I truly enjoy doing nail prep and electric nail file manicure, but also I enjoy acrylic sculpting, because whenever I'm doing nails with acrylic, I feel like I'm in total control, like I'm building a nail almost from nothing, and I create it exactly the way I would like it to be. By the way, when you're placing the bead close to the cuticle, make sure that it's super thin and you're not touching the skin near the cuticle or along the sidewalls. After about 60 seconds, the product is half set, so we can pinch the nail so it's not going to look too wide. And let's do another one. Once you place the bead, you want to make sure that it's covering the nail from one sidewall to the other. When you're dealing with short and wide nails, there's always this temptation to make the nails more narrow than the actual nail bed is. But please don't do this, because the only way to build the proper sculptured nails that are going to last is to cover the nail from one sidewall to the other. When building the free edge, keep in mind that we don't have a tip or a form underneath, so we're not supposed to press too hard. It's supposed to be a very light touch because there's nothing underneath. And if you feel like you don't have enough product, like just now I didn't have enough product on the apex area, I immediately add the bead and smooth it out. In this video, I'm showing you a real-time product application, and you can see that it's actually not that fast. I really take my time. I make sure that I apply enough product. I really take my time working near the cuticle along the sidewalls. This is how I can make sure that I have the exact right amount of the product on the nail that I need. And most importantly, I won't need to spend too much time on filing and shaping these nails later. I think this is the goal, to build and sculpt the nails with a brush, not with a file. Don't forget to pinch the nail within 1 minute. And by the way, pinching should not be painful at all. If it hurts, then it's probably too late. While you do it, the product is supposed to be kind of soft. I don't recommend to pinch the nails of every single client, only in certain cases when you feel like the nails are looking too wide, and this is a great way to make them look more narrow and create a deeper C-curve. When you are working with acrylic sculpting the free edge like this, the product is supposed to feel like a warm butter. So when I'm touching it with a brush, it's moving, but it's not supposed to feel like gel, like stick to the brush or flow under the nail. If it does, that means you took too much monomer and the consistency is too wet. Like right now, I'm blending the product, and at this moment it's a little wet, which is fine because I'm already applying the product on the top. But when you're building the free edge, the consistency should be way more dry. If you accidentally flooded the sidewall or the cuticle area, clean it right away before it's too dry using orange wood stick, and make sure that it's not touching the skin anymore. This is what the set looks like after product application, and now we need to do a little bit of filing and shaping. With acrylic, I always buff the surface, even if it feels like the application was perfect, because I still want to smooth out the cuticle area. And since we did square shape, I'm going to use a thin file to file and shape the sidewalls as well as the free edge. But I'm definitely not doing this extremely sharp square shape for Anna, because this is not going to be practical for her. Now we have these pretty short, natural looking nails. Anna enjoys doing all kinds of cool and flashy nail art, but since she works as a chef in a restaurant, she's not allowed to do that. And she's still willing to add a little bit of sparkle to the nail art. So we are going to use a top coat with glitter. And I'm going to apply it in the builder style gel because this is a builder top coat which has a thicker consistency and can easily allow us to do that. So first I apply the first coat and do not cure. Then I take a little more, add near the cuticle. Also I'm going to fill in this space near the cuticle which may not have enough product. And this is how we will have this slight, almost invisible shimmer and of course a high gloss. Once you finish with building the structure, cure the nail right away. By the way, if this is your first time here on my channel and you've never seen other videos of my nail transformations with Anna's nails, I have the entire playlist with her nails and you can see what her nails looked like 4 years ago. I will leave the link down below. Then we cure the top coat and let's wash them with a special foam to make sure we don't have any dust or debris leftovers. At the same time, we're going to soothe and moisturize her skin, and this is the final look. Let me know what you think. Thank you so much for watching and I will see you in my next video. Goodbye!